Hi there, my name is Diane O'Neill, and for this assignment, I chose to work with the WIDA English Language Development, or ELD Standard 2, Language of Language Arts. So it goes like this. English language learners communicate information, ideas, and concepts necessary for academic success in the content area of language arts. I currently work as an ESL teacher at an all-boys school in South Korea. I see each homeroom twice a week. One of the lessons is devoted to the textbook, and I have free reign over what to teach for the second class. For this, I usually will teach English through the reading of storybooks. I'll mix up the topics to include stuff that boys are interested in, like sports and computer games, but the medium is most often language arts. I thought this was an appropriate standard to unpack as it matches the subject area that I am teaching. So the assignment asked for a standard that takes approximately 5 units to teach, so I broke the ELD2 down further and chose a more specific standard dealing with literature analysis for grade 8 students. In South Korea, middle school years are the equivalent of US 7, 8, and 9, so this would be an age-appropriate lesson for my students. This standard is based off the Common Core Reading Standard for Literature, Integration of Knowledge, and Ideas. It asks students to analyze how a modern work of fiction draws on themes, patterns of events, or character types from myths, traditional stories, or religious works such as the Bible, including describing how the material is rendered new. From there, let's start unpacking and move on to generating the big idea. The nouns in the standard, themes, patterns of events, character types, can be summed up as literary elements. And myths, traditional stories, or religious works can be summed up as traditional forms of storytelling. Therefore, I came up with the big idea. Elements of modern fiction are often drawn from traditional forms of storytelling and religious texts. On the discussion forum, I explained how I was able to link the two ideas, traditional storytelling and modern fiction, together in the context of a Korean ESL classroom. Most Korean students I have taught are well versed in multiple creation stories about their country. They usually have to do with the tiger or other animals that are still a big part of their modern day narrative. Sangeeta commented that Indian creation myths are centered around different animals as well. So I immediately thought that it would be really interesting, maybe for something way down the line, for Korean kids and Indian kids to have sort of a distance learning setup where they compare and contrast their culture's creation myths. Skills. So what kinds of skills would I be teaching so that students meet the standard? Well, by definition, a literary analysis is the ability to identify the elements of a story which include the setting, characters, the plot, and the theme. Because most Korean students already know the creation myths, I think this would be a good place to start in defining the different literary elements. From there, we can start talking about these creation myths and why they continue to pervade in today's society. As we make connections between the ancient mythological themes and themes in contemporary fiction, we could also spend a class talking about the reasons why those themes have carried over. Another skill that I continually work on is how my ESL students can get into the habit of talking about English words in English. For this, I have them working with flashcards. One of the storybooks we're reading is perfect for showing a couple formulas for describing occupations. So as you can see here, I have examples of 3 different jobs: a pilot, a ballerina, and a painter. The formula I use for describing these occupations is the person who plus a verb. This is easy enough for the low-level students to understand and intermediate-level students to memorize. For the high-level students, I can give them occupations that are not on the vocab list, and they follow the formula to make their own description. As a final project, I would give students their choice of how they would like to show their comprehension of the different literary elements we learned. These options would include, but wouldn't be limited to, a book report, shoebox diorama, or movie poster. I think the most important thing is for a student to be able to show that they have what they have learned in a way that also allows their other natural talents to shine. I would then assess them against the WIDA rubric designed to rate how a student has met the standards. They range from 1 to 5 and are respectively entering, emerging, developing, expanding, and bridging. I would like to further this assessment by making a plan for how a student can move into the next level of this rubric.